All right.
Hello, hello.
All right, guys. Episode number 2. Really quickly, I think we both want to say thank you.
Yeah,
because the
response has been great. It's unbelievable. Like, we didn't even expect that. We thought we're just going to drop it and see what happens. But the response and the feedbacks have been amazing.
And so many new subscribers, so many nice comments. So thank you guys. We really appreciate it. It's just, like Sally said, we didn't know what was going to happen. We dropped it and here we are doing number 2. I think today I want to talk about something that is a bit more sensitive, and I think you guys really want to know about it because it's all over my TikTok. Yeah, Zen. It's all over my TikTok lately, and I think I was learning today. I was telling about the algorithm in TikTok and Instagram,
YouTube, yeah,
and in Instagram. That, for example, if you search something, then Instagram automatically starts producing similar content on your page, so that they keep you on the app as long as possible. And I've obviously, a lot of you know that I've not recently really, I've actually been single for nearly a year now. It's just I was pregnant, which is a really unconventional situation, not normal. And so anyway, I searched things on Instagram and it was coming up. There's so much stuff, guys, on narcissists and narcissism, and this is a term that I never really knew much about until recently. And I've spoken to Tanya a lot about this, about narcissistic behavior, narcissism, what makes a narcissist. And I'm just really, I really want to pick again.
I think your life divides in 2. It's before you learn about narcissism and after you learn. Like, your life is not the same. As soon as you realize what that term actually means, you start questioning everything that you've been through and everyone that you've been interacting with, and it opens your eyes and you realize. And it teaches you so much about yourself and your own behavior and how you enable that kind of behavior around you. It's unbelievable. Like, when you understand what kind of person you are and why you attract these type of people.
And why do you think that now we're becoming so familiar with the term narcissist and we're hearing so much about it? Do you think it's because women are now in a different position in society than they were years ago? That we're actually coming to terms with the fact that a lot of men are narcissists or have narcissistic behavior. By this, what I mean is, obviously years ago, the main role of a woman was to be a housewife, provide for the man, blah, blah, blah. But now women are
more independent.
Yes. So do you think because women are growing in a different role in society, now we're learning more about men's behavior towards women? Does that make sense?
But in general, I think narcissism exists in both men and women. But I think the reason that we're learning about it now is because this has always existed. Like, back in the days, this dynamic has always existed, but it was kind of accepted because people didn't really have the knowledge. They didn't really understand the dynamic. But I think part of the reason now that we're talking about it now is because of the social media, because people are getting more educated about it. They understand, and they can look at what's going on. Like, if you, as a woman, if you're seeking independence and respect and equality, in a sense, which obviously that has so many different meanings, then you have to understand what kind of behavior, what kind of role you play in a relationship, and what boundaries you have. But I think back in the days, a lot of men especially had narcissistic tendencies, and nobody really questioned that because everybody would look at men as that kind of behavior as he's just a man, like he needs to be in control. His ego needs to be stroked all the time. But now it's perceived as arrogance, and people use that power, narcissists use that to work in their own favor, to get their own outcome in the situation. So you become the victim, because for them to feel on top, in the power struggle terms, they have to bring you down. They're not going to go for a woman that doesn't have any worth. They're going to go for a woman that has worth, but she doesn't know it. She's not aware of how much she can do with her values, what kind of person they deserve. So they're going to break down your values. They're going to break you down as a person just so they can make themselves feel like they're better than you. And that feeds that kind of energy.
So do you think narcissists, and I'm talking men and women, know they're narcissists?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if they deep down do know, they will never want to admit to that, because it's like a bubble. It's an illusion that they live in. And if one day they admit to that kind of, the term narcissist does not sit well with narcissists. Like they don't want to accept that. They don't want to understand it, because the moment they start learning about it, it rings a bell, and they're going to be like, oh, whoa, like, no, they start rejecting the idea. They start saying like, oh, this such a thing doesn't exist. They don't believe that, because if you tell them that they're narcissists, it's like you burst in their bubble, because they put themselves on such a pedestal, and they make themselves believe that they're something a lot bigger than who they are, that if you take that illusion away from them, their whole world will collapse. Like their whole identity will be questionable. And to face that kind of losing self, like the belief that you have about yourself, you have to break down your whole identity, and that's a dark place to be in. It's a really painful place to be in, and narcissists do not want to face that. So for them to avoid that kind of breakdown, if they can't get their way with you, if you start noticing things and point it out and tell them that, oh, you're a narcissist and this behavior is narcissist, they try to convince you, but if they can't get through you, they're going to go to the next victim. Someone else is who's going to like feed that energy, feed their ego. But if you're not going to buy into that, they're going to make you feel like you're the problem. Right. Right. They start gaslighting you, making you feel like you're the issue here. You're insane. You're delusional, whatever, because they still want to live in that belief that they have about themselves. And it's so important to narcissists how they're perceived from the outside, like how people see them. That vision to them is everything. It means more than life itself. So if people don't see them the way that they want people to see them, that's a dark place to go in. And that means admitting to your wrongdoing. That means working on yourself. That means awareness. And that's like a dark night of the soul that you don't, as a narcissist, it's a painful place to go to, like to go through and correct yourself, because you're never wrong as a narcissist. You're always right. You're always right.
Yeah, I think that's really resonated with me. The whole from experience, I've obviously been through a lot recently, and I think the whole it was really hard for me to understand the idea that it doesn't matter what I say or what I do, that person doesn't really care about how I feel, but he cares about how everybody else around, and how everybody else around that person sees them. So I think they're very scared of what you're going to say or not say about them.
Especially if you break up with a narcissist. The first thing that comes in their mind is like, but what are you going to say about me to other people?
Well, I remember being told, like, you're talking all this stuff about me, and why are you saying these things about me?
Because it's the fucking truth.
And and I remember thinking, I am literally just telling my side of the story, which is the truth. And these are all the things that you did to me.
You're losing that power over you, babe. Do you understand how difficult that is? That because you're breaking up with that person and they can't control your actions and your thoughts and what you say. They're like, but like, please just give me a good look. Please, if you're talking about me to other people, tell them I was a good person. Tell them I was a good dad. I was a good husband. But like when you start talking about the truth and what exactly actually happened, they can't defend themselves, because you're ruining the image that they created for themselves, like this illusion.
It even got to a point that they actually said to me, oh, because I was going on and on saying like, you've done all this stuff to me and all this, and like now I'm not in it anymore, and I can see it from the outside, and I was so blinded for so long, but now I see it. And they even got to the point of saying to me, oh, you need to express yourself. I'm so glad that you've got this out of your chest. It's funny how you only remember the bad things, because I don't. I only remember the good.
Don't, because I was good. Of course, I don't know why you broke up with me, because everything was perfect. Yeah, of course, for you, everything was perfect.
All these narcissistic traits, I've lived them, and it's made me feel like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I was always made to believe that I was the problem, that I was crazy. For, you're crazy, and this, and it was just constant, and my self-esteem was completely destroyed. And it's not just until now that I feel a little bit better, but it's they really take it out on you. Like I said, they suck the life of you until they come suck it out.
Your own identity after that. But I have to say, like, you or anyone else, including me, if you've managed to come out of a narcissistic dynamic, whether it's your family, friends, or especially relationships, congratulations, because your life will never be the same after that. If you've opened your eyes to that and you can spot the red flags from the beginning after that, with everyone that you meet after that experience, you have reached a level of like maturity and self-awareness that your life after that is not going to be the same. Like you're on a different level compared to other people, because you've experienced something that it's sped up your growth process a lot faster, because you're the person that comes out of that dynamic. You might be broken, but you've broken into like building yourself all over again into a new version that's not the same. And you don't want to be the same person that you were before you got into that relationship, because you were naive. You didn't know, like you went into that connection with your whole heart and with vulnerability. And that doesn't mean that you can't be vulnerable in the future, but you go in with open eyes. You can see people's behavior. And what that experience helped me was that I actually have a lot of compassion for people. Like, and that doesn't justify that the things that they do to me or say to me, if it's damaging, it doesn't justify their behavior. It doesn't mean because I understand why they're behaving like that, it doesn't mean that I'm going to give them the room to treat me a certain way. I'm just going to take myself away, give them the time and space to work on themselves, as long as it's not affecting me, as long as I'm not involved in that. I give you all the time and space to work on yourself, but you're not going to be the same person after that. So congratulations. No, I'm genuinely saying, like, it's a huge change, because you are not the same person. And after that, you're going to see your growth because of that experience.
What would you say would be, for obviously I'm not saying everybody's a narcissist. I am actually talking about my personal experience a bit today, like, reflecting on it. But what would you say would be like traits that you would need to look out for when you're starting maybe a relationship with somebody that are narcissistic traits? Like, I think we mentioned earlier, one was being manipulative.
Well, you're not gonna spot the manipulation right at the beginning. I think most of them, because narcissistics, even though they all follow the same steps, they're not aware of it, but they're very, very skilled and they're artists, they're con artists. So they understand what they're doing, but a lot of the time it's not planned. So they all follow the same step, but it's not the same tactics per se. So you can, after coming out of a narcissistic dynamic, you might meet another narcissist, but it doesn't show it right from the beginning. But if you're clever enough that you remember and you learn from your past experience, you can spot that. So usually in relationships starts from love bombing. Love bombing, what it means is that when you meet someone from the get-go, they show you so much attention and love, and they're like, you're the one that I want, and they're like besotted by you. And they genuinely believe that.
I experienced this. Like, I went through this, what you call love bombing. I didn't even know this expression, love bombing. In a really short amount of time, I was literally like in a relationship going into.
And you don't realize, you're like, all of a sudden, you're like,
you moved in together. Yes, months. And we'd moved in together. It was so intense. I remember thinking, wow, it's so intense.
But you know why that is? Because they've just met you. They don't want to give you room and space to see the truth about them. So they're going to distract you with all of this love and attention just so you can see them like, wow, like finally I met the man of my dreams. You have no time to process all of this information. They're not going to give you space to think about it. Even when after that you go home, they're not going to give you that space. It's constant. It's on the phone. Like, it goes so fast. So you don't even have time. And even you can be the most intelligent person on earth, and you're still gonna be in that position to make that mistake. So the love bombing, they genuinely believe it, but they're using all of their tact. That's manipulation, but you're not gonna see it. They're not gonna spot it in the beginning. after some time, you're going to notice that when things don't add up. And this dynamic, the love bombing, could last from 3 to 6 months. And after that, that's when you start questioning, like, okay, things are not.
That's true. That's when you start noticing the red flags.
That's when you start noticing, because before that you were just like drowned in love, and after that you start questioning, like, okay, things don't feel the same because they immediately switch up, and then like they're not the same person they were in the beginning when they met you. So they remember. Every now and then they're going to give you the same love bombing and attention. So you're like, oh, wow, like he's the same person. And then they take it away. So it becomes like a drug. You're addicted to that dynamic now. It's different. Sometimes you meet someone and you both like fall like head over heels for each other. That's a different dynamic. But when you, from the beginning, you're like, wow, like from the after the first few days, if they want to move in, they're already talking about having kids together and like, oh, you know, like I've been thinking the ring I'm going to buy for, none of this is going to come true. But you know, like you hear it, it's like it's a music to your ear. You're like, wow, like, and they study you from the beginning. They study, because if you're emotionally
what do you mean by they study you? Like, you mean they analyze you and they know your strengths and your weaknesses?
They're very clever, because they study like everything that comes out of your mouth. They know what you want and what kind of attention you want. Like, from the reactions you give to the things that they say to you, they're like, okay, she likes that, so I'm going to use this more. I'm going to do this and that and say this and this to get my way. So they're going to use that, and they're going to do it so much. And honestly, people that do love bomb, they actually enjoy it. It's not like, it's not their whole purpose to like have, it's like a full-time job for them. They genuinely enjoy it because it feeds their energy. It's an ego boost that they're making you obsessed with them. But why I said congratulations is because you're not going to be that person anymore. You can still meet people that are going to love bomb you, and you're going to be like, please.
So first comes the love bombing, and then when does it get to a point? Because for me, I think for me it's taken years, and it's only now that
it usually does take a long time.
It's only now that I look back and I'm like, wow, that was completely narcissistic. Everything about him is narcissistic, really, because the way he made me feel, I experienced everything, the love bombing, the manipulation, everything, but it didn't feel like I was experiencing that when I was experiencing it. Do you know, I didn't feel like because I'm not.
You would have never said these things about him.
But listen, like, I'm not, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm not a stupid girl. I'm with it. Like,
I mean, it's always the intelligent ones.
Yeah, like, I'm with it, and I know about these things and stuff, but never in a million years did I point my finger and be like, oh, you're trying to manipulate me, or I'm not gonna, it didn't cross my mind that there was somebody doing these things, because obviously
they're not even so wholeheartedly. Yeah, you know?
And they're, like you said, they're not aware they're doing it, but they kind of know they're doing it because they build up this dynamic and they know the response they're going to get.
Thing,
so they keep doing it because they feed off it.
Yeah.
So for me, I like, that's really interesting, because I look at my life back and look at my life through a lens, and I experienced all of it. And although it's very sad that I've had to experience all that, I now look at it, I'm like, wow, like, I
wouldn't see myself as a victim when you're in it. But they say when you're a victim in a narcissistic dynamic, I think you're privileged, because after that, you're not going to give it like months or years to realize what's happening. Also, narcissists, babe, they are so clever with their social circles. Like, however they treat you in the relationship at home privately, no one's ever going to know, because they're going to be so nice to your friends.
This is really, really
so
true.
Nice to your family and everybody that you know, and everyone's going to fall in love with them.
People were like shocked.
Yeah.
And I think this is so on point, because I remember people saying to me, "Oh, really? He seems like a really nice guy." Like, I'm shocked about what you're saying.
And then every time you hear this, you question yourself. You're like, "Was I the bad guy?"
Well, I even said to myself at one point, like, chill out, Louise, it's not that bad. Like, you're making a big deal out of
that's why it takes years for you to come out.
And I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put my feelings aside. I'm making a huge drama
because everybody else thinks he's a good guy, so I might be the problem here.
Exactly. And then eventually I was like, no, I'm not making this is not okay.
Yeah.
This is not normal. And I don't want to live my life like this. I was just in this dynamic of I've done something wrong, or you exaggerate everything. Why do you have to tell people everything that's happening in our relationship? It's like, I'm just telling my close friends and my mom, I'm asking for advice because I think I'm the problem. So I want them to give me feedback.
Yeah, because it's important. You want people to support you. You don't want people to think on top of your exes. You don't want them to think that you're the problem, because you're going to carry that with you, that insecurity, and you're going to take it to the next relationship. But just to get rid of that
I didn't want to carry it like I
don't want to bleed on somebody else.
Exactly.
But just to help people that like come out of this dynamic, whether it's narcissistic or not, just so you don't carry that guilt with you. It doesn't matter the reason why you're breaking up with someone. Just look at how inconsistent you feel in that relationship. Do you feel happy? Do you feel content? The other person might not be the problem, but if you're having to question your feelings every day and it's so up and down and it goes on for a long time, because obviously people can go through a phase of not feeling themselves, loss of identity and everything. That's got nothing to do with the relationship. Stay patient with it, find yourself. But if you still feel like you shed skin and you come out of it and you're still questioning your feelings about that relationship, you don't need to explain, you don't need a reason, you don't need to justify anything. What's more valid than your happiness in a relationship? I'm not happy. As simple as that. You're good, you're amazing, but at this point in my life, I'm not happy. My happiness is not, continuous. It's not the same every day. So
it's really hard, babe, because you think that is happiness when you're in it. So when you're like, it's very strange because you think that is happiness and that you're just making a big deal.
I think it's outdated beliefs, because you have a list of the things that would make you happy. That's why I think people need to have their own belief system, because we all grow up with certain beliefs that roots from the family beliefs. Like, one day you're going to get married and have kids and find the love of your life. And when you reach that, you think this is the place that I should feel happy. For me, in my experience, I didn't grow up in a family that had a strong foundation. My parents separated. So I had to learn everything by myself. I had to build my own belief system, and I had to have my own boundaries and teach everything to myself. So I didn't have a role model. So if I had like those beliefs from family, it probably would have took me a lot longer to recreate myself, like unlearn to relearn yourself, So I think you think you're happy is because of the outdated belief that you had in your head, like, okay, but now I have the love of my life, I have kids and I have a house,
which goes back to
I should be happy, but why am I not happy? Maybe what you thought makes you happy is not what this is. And for any reason, sometimes you don't even need to find the reasons why you're not happy. If you're not happy, you need to change your environment, you need to change your social circle, the people around you. The change is necessary when you're not happy, whether it's the change even within yourself. When you're not happy, you don't look for another reason to explain yourself. And nobody else is more important than you. Like, your happiness is more important than anything to yourself. So you're not happy, we'll leave it as simple as that. People are going to get upset. Friends are going to be unhappy that you break up with them and you distance yourself. And after some time, they're gonna heal and forget about it. But what's more important is that you put yourself first, your own sanity, your own happiness first. Find yourself, and sometimes it's absolutely fine. Just like forgive yourself and be kind to yourself, because sometimes after some time, you might realize, oh, maybe that was good for me. You might even go back to it and try it again, and you might even realize that it's not. You just have to go with how you feel in the moment, and don't make decisions so rash. Like, if you're in a stable marriage and kids and everything, the moment you feel unhappy when you're on your period, you can't just like break up with someone. Give it time, give it time, because you might just be going through a phase like identity crisis.
Yeah, it's true. No, that's actually a really good way of putting it, because you can make very rational decisions when you're on your period.
Time, yeah.
Now, talking about narcissism and stuff, because I'm trying to think like what the profile of, like, for me, obviously the profile of a narcissist, now that I look back, fits. But what about in, for example, I'm just in the top of my head, I'm always thinking about business. Like, what about in business? Do you think, for example, because narcissists are master manipulators?
Oh no, I can spot a narcissist from across the street.
Do you think they're better in business? Think about it this way.
Particularly because all they think about is their own benefit in the situation. So you cannot trust to get in a business with a person like that, because they can.
But if they have, but think about it. I don't know.
They most of the narcissists, they're con artists. So they can get their way by lying around and telling what people like to hear. They get things temporary, but it doesn't last, because people can pick up on it and they can easily lose it. They don't know how to hold on to a good thing. It could be a relationship, it could be money or anything. Like, most narcissists are like that. And like, how you can spot a narcissist from the first conversation when you date someone, this is one way of knowing.
This is what we want to know.
They might not even love bomb you. They might be really chill and really calm, actually, but all they talk about is themselves. They don't give you time to talk about yourself. They're like, well, but I did this, I did that. And then when you say something about yourself, they twist it. They're like, yeah, like I heard you, but me, back to me again. All about me. It's like me. Just acknowledge me, notice me, like all about me.
Wow.
Compliment me. Like that's the
number one.
They're on the level one. They're like, they have no filter. They make no effort to hide that. So that's when you're like, wow, okay.
But I think that's something that's quite easily spotted if you have a little bit of a brain cell. Like, if I went on a date with a guy and all he's talking about himself, I'd be like, goodbye.
Oh, sometimes you don't really pay attention to it because you really like it. You've seen some things that you like about that person, so you let them have their own stage.
Let's do a bit of role play, right? Okay. So let's lighten things up.
Every time you say let's do that, I have to drink my tea.
No, let's do a little role play. Like, I'm Billy.
Oh, you're already cancelled. Because you have come up with a better name. Billy. Go on, love.
All right. Hi, I'm Billy, but I'm very, very
Billy Big Balls.
Billy Big Balls. I'm a businessman, really good looking, really nice guy. I really want to take you out on a date, Tani. Let's go on a date. And I go on a date with you, and I am super nice. I do not talk about myself at all. I'm really invested in you. I want to know what you're doing. Like, I'm telling you how beautiful you are and this and that. The date ends and you keep seeing each other. Everything seems completely normal. So everything seems completely normal. You're already now you're attached. You really like this guy. You're in a relationship. How on earth then, once you're in there, when do you think is like when you're like, right, that is a red flag? For me, I can say the first red flag I noticed was, and it wasn't because he was talking about himself all the time. It was the opposite with me, actually. Very invested in me. What you're doing, oh, you're amazing, and this and that. He was putting me up on a pedestal.
You see that because they want the validation back as well.
Yeah. So I was just gonna get to that. So I felt like you're using me, and because then I found out, like, he was telling so many people about me. So he was using my status, is the right word, like my status.
Yeah, status,
like status, like the fact that I was a nurse and I was doing Help in Africa and I was doing all these things. So people be like, wow,
proud, because they can never put a girl like you. They're like, look at me, look what I pulled.
Yeah,
I feel sick.
Pulled.
Yeah,
wow. And then I was like, yeah, this is great. But then it got to a point where he was telling people all these things about me and stuff, but he was feeding off that energy. And the only way I can explain that is, I don't know if I'm making sense, because I'm trying to explain it and I'm actually reliving things. But he was like, yeah, I'm with her, but then use my status to get stuff for him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because you all of a sudden you become the identity that's outside of the relationship. You become his identity, but inside he's going to break you down so you're not aware of it. You don't know. He's like, no, you're the issue. I'm better than you, because he's got all of your energy now. He's got your identity now. He's walking around being all proud and everything. But inside, he doesn't want you to be aware of that, because then your head is going to get too big. I was actually told this, like, oh, I don't want you to know, like, I'm not going to tell you too much about how good you are, because some of them are not that smart, you know, like they literally like sell themselves. They're like, whoa, did he actually say that? You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, maybe I heard it wrong. Oh, like, without you, I'm nothing. Like, don't say that out loud. Like, it's nothing to be proud of.
I've had that as well though. Without you, I'm nothing.
If you are nothing without someone, you really need therapy. Like, you need to be someone by yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely fine to be in love with somebody, but that they cannot be your identity. Like, you should always be okay with not being with that person. Nothing. Go with the belief of nothing is permanent. That starts from family members, from relationships. If you hold on to things that for dear life and thinking like, oh, this has to stay in my life for the rest of my life, like until I die, that's the wrong mentality to have.
So you can have narcissistic parents as well.
Absolutely. I think that's where it starts.
Oh, right.
I think that's where it starts. And like,
because we're only talking about relationships, but really you can have narcissistic parents who maybe instill that behavior on their kids, or how would you?
It all depends. I think the circumstances are different. So
what would a narcissistic parent be to you? Because it's a different dynamic, obviously, when they're not, or is it? Do they love their children and stuff like that as well? Obviously in a different kind of way.
I think with men, it comes from their unhealthy relationship that they have with their mother. And it might come across as if they have a beautiful relationship, but I think that moms spoil their sons way too much, and they don't correct them when they do something wrong. Their bad behavior, they justify their bad behavior. They defend them when they do something wrong. And that that boy grows up to believe that they can never do wrong. They're always right. And that their ego is so big, and they've created this vision and this illusion about themselves that's created mostly by their mother. So when they're old enough and they leave their mom, they need to be around another female that makes them feel that way. They're not going to go to someone who is going to spot their bad behavior and correct them. They're going to go to someone that makes them feel like who they think they are. So they're going to go to another girl that doesn't know her worth. And they can like break them down and have power over them and make them believe that I'm the shit. I can never do wrong. You're the problem. The whole world is the problem. I'm the king, you know?
Yeah. Do you think, like, for example, somebody who's got narcissistic traits or a narcissist can correct their behavior? Like, if they recognize that they're not.
Oh, it takes a lot. I've actually seen on social media that some people have been diagnosed with narcissistic.
You can be diagnosed with narcissism?
Yeah, I didn't know it's a thing, but you can be diagnosed, but that takes a lot of self-awareness, you know? Like, it's not something that you can cure. It's not like a disease. It's not a disease that you can cure. It's awareness that when you notice a certain behavior of yours around people, you spot it, you communicate, you learn on the communication. When you get tempted to use their weakness for your own benefit, you approach the situation differently, but you have to be so aware of yourself to get to that stage. But not like most, and I say like 99% of narcissists, they don't want to go there because it's a good place to be.
They're feeding off
the only way they're gonna go the other way and humble themselves is when they have no choice but to, because life can really hit them hard at one point and they lose everything because of their behavior, and they can't go from one victim to the next straight away just so they don't lose that chain. So sometimes they fall in a position that they're like, I can't switch from this victim to the next. I have this gap that I don't know what to do with myself, because how I am now, nobody will want me. So I have all the time in the world to work on myself, and you can't avoid it. When you have that time to yourself, you cannot avoid it. You're going to be a mess. People are going to notice in your looks. Everybody's going to notice like your whole identity was from somebody else, and it's just going to go from there. But that's actually good, because if a narcissist gets to that stage, it's probably going to take a couple of years, but they're never going to relate to the person that they were before all of that. And they're going to feel really humble. They're going to believe that they're not the king they think they are. They're just a normal person. They make mistakes, and
So basically, narcissists are people normally jump from one relationship to another, because as soon as they feel like the woman has basically noticed or discovered them, I'm saying it in more goofy term, but basically as soon as the woman realizes she's in this, not ghost you, but they move on to the next victim, don't they? They're like, they can't be on their own because they have no identity. So like, okay, I've been with you, I've sucked the life out of you, I've completely destroyed you. Now I'm going to move on from this relationship, or this relationship has ended, and immediately they're on to the next relationship, and eventually do the same thing.
They have options
to the next
B and C, like on the side, like just in case it doesn't work out.
They always have
it
options.
Doesn't work out with you, like, and so a lot of them actually, they get obsessive when you break up with them. They get obsessive, like in your DMs, and like begging you, please give me another chance, and like they actually cry, like I'm sorry, like just take me back, you know, I understand what I did. They say all of this, and then you take them back, and then they switch again because they want to get on your good grace.
I think when you said they always have options, like I felt like I was
yes, because they don't want to have that gap to look at themselves.
And it's really interesting because I never really thought about it like that, but you're basically describing my whole past relationship, because I felt like I was in a triangle for years. Like there was more than one. What, I sound like Princess Diana when she did that interview. Do you remember Princess Diana when she did that interview? And she said, there's 3 people in my marriage. Well, I felt a bit like that. There was 3 people in my relationship, because there was always another option there.
3 or more.
But that option is still there. Even after he's moved on to another relationship, that option is still there. She will always be there.
She doesn't want a relationship with him, but she's always there to feed his ego.
Yeah, exactly.
This is why women to learn, like, girls, we really need to have each other's back.
Yes, I agree.
And genuinely, like, I'm not just saying this, I am a girl's girl, but we need to, like, we're not helping the world by being the way we are. Like, it's just for our own ego, getting in the middle of someone else's relationship just to feel good about ourselves. We're not really helping the world, because these men really need to grow up. Their mom didn't do a good job, and you're just there like, come on, just like give them a chance to make the world a better place, because they need to. Because if they don't make themselves a better person, their children are going to be fucked up. It's a chain. Like, just give people a chance, like.
But you know, you also need to understand that some people, like I've really had to learn the fact that some people, their intelligence or their brains, if you want to put that, they don't go that far. So you're having a you're trying to say something to someone who isn't clever enough to even understand or work on themselves for stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's a challenge.
And the whole thing about having a side chick, or whatever you call it, what do you call it, side chick, on the side, feeding his ego. That I was trying to explain that to other people, because they were like, well, why is he always going back to her? Why is it? And I was like, because I don't, but she feeds his ego. And I'm there saying, no. Yeah. I'm standing up for myself. I'm not putting up with this behavior.
Oh, she treated me like shit. She's always belittling me.
Apparently I treated
she's like just telling you what you're doing wrong, which your mom should have done, or your family should have done. But now I've come to your life to tell you what's up, and now you don't want to hear it. So okay, fine, go to someone else that justifies your behavior.
Yeah, he would go to someone else that would be like, oh, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing.
And like, yeah, this is it. Like, that's what I want.
And that's fed his ego. Then he's had enough of her, would come back to me and be like, oh, yeah, like...
Yeah, they can never be on their own. They can never be on their own.
Never be on their own. And seriously, like, I think when I look back, if I would have known when I was, like, my uni days and stuff, like, there's so many of my friends that were in this dynamic of relationship, but I had no idea. Like, social media has made this a huge thing and really helped understand the term of not... Like, I know... You know, when people are like, oh, in my days, those things, they've always existed. We just didn't know about that was narcissism.
But also now, because of social media, this term is used really loosely. Like, don't label people with narcissism.
No.
First of all, everybody has narcissistic tendencies, and everybody has the ability to manipulate.
That's true.
We're all born with a little bit of traits of that personality. But what makes that kind of behavior grow until it's uncontrollable is from your childhood, that people enable your bad behavior, you know, like they don't correct you, and they let you do all kinds of shit, and you know, like you get away with it. That's how narcissists are built. Like,
that's what I'm really aware of, because I have kids, obviously, and I was telling Tanya that the other day, like, I'm so worried that my son, and it's funny that I said my son, because women can be narcissists as well, but I just focused on my son. I was like, I hope my son doesn't develop any of these like traits or whatever, or like is influenced by any of this or treats women like this. But then at the same time, I hope my daughter doesn't either, because women can also be narcissists. And actually, we were saying a narcissistic woman is probably 300 times worse than a man. Because women are a lot more manipulative. We are naturally more manipulative.
We're manipulative. We know how to.
We're more clever. We're more intelligent.
We have agenda. We have plan. Like we know how to get shit. But a narcissistic woman is a lot more dangerous. Like they can go
dangerous.
Yeah, they can really ruin lives.
And
but it's more likely that men can have that.
Why do you think though that men are more likely to be narcissists than women? What is it?
Because it's a power thing. They like that. It's the ego and power which men usually have. Men when they're so small with their achievements and personality, they want to believe that they're not so small. And men like to feel like they're big and they're important. So they use that kind of tactic to make themselves believe that they're big. But women are more acceptant of.
So this goes back to the first question in that we came, like I said today, which is, do you think now you've clarified it, that we are getting more to term with the terms narcissist because women have grown in society? This is what I was referring to so much, and are independent now, obviously, like we're independent, we're building businesses, we're moving money, we're doing all this, and are making men feel more insecure.
No, I don't think so. I think it always existed. It's just changed form, because I actually think back in the days, women enabled that behavior a lot more, because nobody said anything to.
Do you think there was less narcissistic men in those days?
I wouldn't say less, no.
Maybe it was normalized more back then. Like it was seen as a normal thing that the man was the way that he was, and now women are recognizing and like, no, it's not okay.
They're not putting up with it, because women
are not putting up with it.
Women now, they seek more equality and respect, and because women are so much more independent. So I think social media is helping women see what's wrong in a dynamic. So people are like spotting the behavior, but it's so easy to cross that line. That's why I'm saying, like, don't label people with that, because that term is used so loosely. And we're not professional. You're not professional psychologists, so you can't really label that with people to say like, oh, you're a narcissist. But because we all have that tendency.
We all have narcissistic traits.
Yeah, we all have that. But don't label people that. But it's just that the whole point is that you remove yourself from situations that's not good for you, that questions your dignity, your sanity, your mental health, and your spiritual health. I think when you notice that you're not doing good in a dynamic, it could even be family, and I'm not just saying like relationships, but we're obviously focusing on relationships. But if you feel like a certain dynamic is affecting your sanity and your mental health, then that's when the time is to whether work on it, come up with a solution to work on that together and fix it. And if you can't fix it, then you remove yourself. Like, you don't have to label it as to like, it's because you're not going to get anywhere with pointing it out to the other person that, oh, you're a narcissist, you're this and that. You just spot it and run, sister.
Again, we just want to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed. Thank you to everybody who's watched. And we really hope you enjoy our content, so we can keep bringing you content. So
we have a lot to give, a lot of love to give, and
a lot to talk about. Right. We're just gonna finish this vlogcast.
Alfie really wanted to say hi, so he's been really impatient today for some reason, and he's wearing his diamond necklace like a G.
You look like Top Boy.
I think after watching Kendrick Lamar's show, like, he was like, "Mommy, I want to wear my chain today."
They're not like us. They're not like us. They're not like us.
The chain.
Poor dog. He's horrified. All right, guys.
This has been a lot. Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.